Hello, I'm the Tax Pro, and today I am going to talk with you about bank rules within QuickBooks Online. Bank rules are important because they can definitely increase our efficiency when it comes to bookkeeping. It allows us to do more bookkeeping faster. But bank rules can be tricky to set up, and if you set them up incorrectly, you can create a lot of issues within your QuickBooks Online account. So today I'm going to talk with you about what bank rules are, and then I'm going to show you how to properly format them and a couple of things to keep in mind when you do bank rules. So what exactly are bank rules? Bank rules are conditions that we set within QuickBooks Online, and we are telling QuickBooks Online, when you see a specific set of criteria, I want you to do this action. I want you to categorize this transaction this way. And we can either have QuickBooks Online automatically take it from the bank feed or the bank transaction page and put it in the company register automatically without approval, or we can have QuickBooks Online flag the transaction and say, hey, this is a bank rule, we've recognized it, can we go ahead and add it, and then we have to manually approve it. So there's a couple of different ways that we can set this up, pros and cons to each, and I'm going to show you those here in this video. So this is our demo company. This is ABC Creative. This is the dashboard when you initially log in. There's a couple different ways that we can create a bank rule. We can go here to the My Apps, scroll up to Accounting, and then go to Rules, and this will pull up a list of all the rules. It pulls up the bank rules section. Or we can actually do it within the bank feed itself. So this is the bank transaction feed. And right here, we can actually go in and create a bank rule. So let's look at this Google transaction right here. So this Google transaction, it's showing Google, it's for $12.55, and it's for Google G Suite. So every month I'm gonna pay for a Google G Suite subscription. And I know that it's always gonna go into dues and subscriptions. That's exactly where I want it. I want it to say it's from Google. And I wanna notate in there that it is an email subscription. So I can go ahead and right down here, I can click create rule, and it's going to pop out from the right hand side. It's going to show us a create rule option. So in here, we're going to name the rule. So I'm going to name it Google G Suite, and I want to name it in a way that tells me what it's doing. Okay. Now we're going to see apply this transaction or apply this to transactions, and we can select money out or money in. So every time we spend money, we can apply this rule, or every time we bring money in, we can apply this rule. This is obviously a money out transaction because the money is going out of the bank account, and we can select what account we want to actually apply this to. So we can choose, do we want to apply it to all bank accounts, or do we want to select specific bank accounts that we want it to apply to, other ones it won't. So you'll see here there's one bank account, so all bank accounts and then the one are the same. But if we had multiple bank accounts, we could select specific bank accounts. The reason you would do that would be like if you have maybe specific employees that have access to different credit cards or different bank accounts. Perhaps we don't want some of those employees to, we don't want to automatically just add a G Suite subscription. Maybe we have one employee that is authorized to make that purchase. And if we see a G Suite subscription through another employee, we want to know because that shouldn't be on that employee's card. So we want to ignore, like we don't want to apply a bank rule to that. That's going to need some attention. So that might be why you want to select specific bank accounts, or maybe you have the same vendor supplying two separate types of services or products or something along those lines, and you know that when you purchase this particular type of service, you pay with this card, and when you purchase this other specific type of service, you're paying with a different card. Then you could divvy up the bank rules, and that can help you keep them separate. And so then we are going to apply it to these particular money out transactions for this particular bank account. And we are going to have the transactions include all of the below conditions, or we can select any of the below conditions. So the things that we can use to identify the particular transactions we want this bank rule to apply to are the description, the bank text, and the amount. out. Now I want you to keep in mind, I want to kind of show you guys something here. I'm going to X out of this. For this Google transaction, you'll notice that the bank description only says Google, even though the actual bank feed says Google G Suite. That's what I uploaded in the spreadsheet. So when we create a rule for this particular transaction, if we put that the description contains G Suite, this rule will not recognize this transaction because the description itself does not include G Suite in the bank feed. However, the bank text does. So we're going to want to switch this to bank text. Bank text is what is going to come over from the actual bank or what's going to be in that actual spreadsheet that you upload to QuickBooks Online. And then we can set an amount. So we know that G Suite's always going to charge us $12.55. If it's going to be different, we want to know. We don't want it to be flagged as a bank rule. So that's going to be our conditions. Then we're going to tell QuickBooks. So we've told QuickBooks up here, okay, when you see this, we want you to do something. But now we need to tell QuickBooks what we want it to do. So then we can either exclude or we can assign. Exclude just takes that transaction out. Assign is going to allow us to get the correct category and vendor information for the transaction essentially automatically populated. And so we're going to say, okay, what kind of transaction is this? It's money out. So QuickBooks is going to say you can either do it as an expense, a transfer, a check, or a credit card payment. We want it to be an expense. And then we are going to select our category. So we always want it to go into dues and subscriptions. You can also select a product or service. We're not going to do that at this time. And then we always want to put a payee in here. So it's going to be Google. And then we can choose, maybe we don't want the bank memo to read Google G Suite. Maybe we want it to read something else. And we can go ahead and put in here, maybe email subscription. Or we can say, okay, we also want you to keep the existing bank memo, but we want you to put email subscription on the end. So you can do either or. And then down here, we can say, okay, we either want you to keep auto add off, and this means that it is going to show us the transaction and ask us to post the transaction after confirming the bank rule has been properly applied. Or we can just have QuickBooks automatically put it in the register. As soon as that transaction comes in through the bank feed, QuickBooks will add it to the register based on what we've told it to do here. Auto add should be used with caution. And the reason being is because you don't see it, you're not approving what you've told QuickBooks to do. My recommendation is, if you are still getting familiar with bank rules, for you to leave auto add off. Go ahead and create the bank rules, closely review those bank rules, and if after a couple months you're comfortable with the bank rule, then turn auto add on if you want to use it. But I would go ahead and make sure that you're manually reviewing that particular bank rule for a couple of months before you put it in auto add. It's just going to help you prevent mistakes. So I'm going to leave auto add off. But if we left it on, essentially this transaction over here for Google G Suite is just going to get posted to our register. Now, one other thing that we can do that I'm going to show you before I save this rule and you can see how it's applied is you can also automatically split the transaction. What this means is that we want to put that particular split or that particular transaction to multiple different accounts. We want to split it between multiple expense accounts. And you might have this scenario come up if maybe you have like a utility bill that includes a rent of some form of equipment or some sort of appliance. And maybe that rent is a specific amount per month, but then every month you're also paying like a utility bill. You can split these transactions either by percentage or by dollar amount. So if we use percentage, essentially we're going to say, okay, the first, 25% is going to go to this account. And then the next, we could even do 50% is going to go to shipping. And this is just completely made up because this would be a very odd split. And then the next, 25% is going to go to contract labor. Okay, so that total percentage needs to add up to 100. So we can do that, and we can add lines if we would like to. Or we can add a split, and we can split it by dollar amount. So we could say, okay, the first $5 goes to dues and subscriptions. Then we could have the next $5 is going to go to shipping. And then the remainder is going to go to, insurance or something along those lines. Okay, so what that's going to do is it's going to take $5, put it into dues and subscriptions, $5, put it into shipping, and then it's going to take the remainder, what's left, so whatever is over $10, and it's going to put it into insurance. Obviously, that's not realistic for this particular transaction, so I'm going to delete those lines, delete the split, and then I am going to save this. Now, let me fold this up. When we come to the bank transactions page, what we're going to see is this little green highlighted rule right here. And what that tells me is that QuickBooks has assigned a rule to this particular line item. I can see right here, I have a rule that says that it's going to be Google and it's going to go into dues and subscriptions, and I can go ahead and choose to post it right away. Okay, so if you have a rule that doesn't auto add, the way that it increases your efficiency is it's automatically going to assign your vendor or your customer, automatically categorize it, and it's always going to be that particular category or vendor. QuickBooks will try to help you with this even if you don't have rules, but QuickBooks sometimes selects some really weird stuff. Oftentimes it's not right. Like you can see here, I had an Intuit deposit that I put under Alfred and put sales of product income. And so it's going to try to do that again. So it's going to make these suggestions, but I don't have any rules for those particular transactions. It's just doing that based on historic data. And sometimes the historic data that it's pulling from, I don't know where it is pulling from, but it is off in space. So just make sure that, when you have something that doesn't have a rule, you're reviewing it, but those rules can help you kind of limit those mistakes and those kind of weird things that QuickBooks does. If you auto add it, obviously it really increases efficiency because it's just automatically added to your register. So let's say that I have a rule and I want to change it. We can go to the My Apps, Accounting, and down to Rules, and you'll see here we have this Google G Suite rule. So this right here is telling us, okay, here's a rule that we have. We have the Google G Suite. I can edit it, I can disable it for right now, or I can copy it or delete it. Okay, if I choose to edit it, I can come in here and I can change it. Other thing that happens is you can set a priority here in the rule section. The higher the priority, so if you have priority number 1, that rule will be applied before priority number 5. And so if you have a transaction that may meet multiple different rules, it's going to be categorized based on priority. And so hopefully that was helpful. As a recap, bank rules are helpful because they essentially tell QuickBooks Online, every time you see this, I want you to do this action, and it can automate that bookkeeping process for you. In order for those transactions to be identified, it needs to come through the bank transactions page, which requires hooking up your bank account to QuickBooks Online or importing data. I have another video on how to do that if you have questions about that. But this is the bank rule section. Be careful about auto add. If you have any questions, let me know. If this was helpful, please consider giving us a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.